Hot, hot is the word. Humid, oh my. Hope everyone's doing well. Man, it's a roasting afternoon. It's a little after lunch today, and just kind of want to show you what's going on with the crops and what we're doing in getting preparation for harvest. You can tell. Let's see if I can get this thing down here. I'm 6'2", and these beans are above my belt line, so you can see they don't look all that bad. Don't look all that bad at all. If I can get the sun off everywhere, you guys can see it. Boy, to be a dry time, looks pretty good. We've been getting some rain once the beans started to pod. Started to flower. And then when they started to pod, we started to getting some rains right along. Wasn't getting a lot, 3 or 4 tenths at a time, sometimes 1.5 inches. But the beauty of it is every few days we would get some, so pretty good. I will say this is as good a field of beans as I have. We may have some as good, but I don't think we've got any better. This particular field here, we're doing some different things with a nutrient management program, and this whole field was a total different way of doing things than what I've ever done on soybeans, and it appears to be working. The pod count is up from the other fields that look good, and I don't have any beans that don't look good. We've got about 110, 15, something like that acres of double crop beans behind thrashed wheat, and naturally they're behind and don't look near as good as these, but they're not supposed to at this point. The corn really has come out. I had given up on this corn. I really had, as you can kind of see here. This is non-GMO corn. It's not planted as thick as a lot of people plant it on the eastern shore of the Midwest. It's at 28.5. And with a flexier corn, that normally does pretty good for us. Now with non-GMO, little different program there, but I found out because we have such dry summers here in Virginia, I'm better off with a little bit less population. And on the real dry years, I'll do better. It hurts me on the real good years, but I kind of got a plan for, the bad year. I got to make it through the bad year to get to the good year. Pulled my grain cart out to shed just a little bit ago. Nothing fancy. 1210A. There's a million of them in the Midwest, or where they've junked them all now, I guess. But anyway, you'll notice the tarp is gone. I shucked the tarp off of it, and I'm putting a Sherlock rollover tarp on it. Tires are certainly bald, but main thing I use this for is getting the corn and the beans out of the low grounds, because we have to go through a hilly type land from the high grounds to the low grounds, and in doing that, that hilly ground is in cow pasture, so you have to go through a gate, through a cow pasture, through another gate to the river bottom. So we have to have something like this to get it out. We can't get the 18-wheelers in there, and I've only got one 2-ton straight truck. And to tell you the truth, when I bought it, I thought it was the greatest thing it ever was, and it does a good job, but it's just small now, and we've outgrown it. You can see that our weed program, herbicide program, is not as robust as I want it to be. I ended up made a decision to not go with any pre-emergence this time, and just go with post-emergence over the top of the beans. And for the most part, that's worked pretty good. But we had some planter issues, so I've got some spots where where we would come up to where we went across the ends, you know, and we didn't do that like we should have. And I'm not exactly sure why the operator was doing what they were doing, but anyway, we caught it before we got done. But we've got some spots that's not as thick, and we've got some weedy problems there. This is also non-GMO corn. The first 2 rows are 15 inches apart. Excuse me, the first pass, I guess is what I should say, is I planted it. I didn't like what I saw, so we stopped and we disced the land because I was no-tilling. And anyway, when I came back and replanted, I knew I wasn't going to match the rows, but I knew the disc was going to put some of the corn too deep, so I went ahead and replanted it. So some of that is, like I say, 15 inch rows on the first 2, which we'll probably chop that off. Got the bagger out the shed. I've got machinery sitting everywhere now. The bagger out of the shed, the 2950 hooked to it. We're getting ready to bag some corn silage. It's almost ready to go. Got some sorghum and some dwarf German millet to cut and wet wrap for feed. And then at that point, I think the corn will be ready. Everything that we're putting in the silo is non-GMO. You can see on the edge here, I've got some morning glories coming up, which is just on the edge, thank heavens. But the corn doesn't look bad. You know, I mean, that's just to give you an example here. I mean, I'm not going to shuck it back, but the corn, this corn really struggled. It was super dry when we planted it, super dry. Put it in dry soil. Did not germinate for over 2 weeks. And I was really upset about it because this is my living. This is not my hobby, you know, and I've got to make some sort of crop. Hence the lower population, to make sure if it's a dry year on this dry land that I can make something out of it. So, but all of the reason we're chopping non-GMO is the fellow I buy my bulls from is a registered cattle breeder, and he has tests that show that the non-GMO seems to do better for the cattle in terms of breeding back. I've had a bunch of people get upset when I say that, but I raise just enough non-GMO to chop. On a bad year, which normally means on a good year, I don't chop it all, and we do have some non-GMO to be shelled, you know. Lots of work to be done. We're trying to get it done. We got the dump wagon out, getting ready to hook to the chopper. I've got to air the tires up. They're up, obviously, but I want to make sure that they're right. This is Dad's tractor, 4850. He bought this tractor back, I don't know, March, April, something like that, and it has done really well for us. Got to prep the auger here. I've got some work to do on the swing pan. I'm gonna put a new floor in the swing pan. I bought that thing and it was a little eaten out and it hadn't gotten any better. I've been patching on it and it just needs to be replaced. But anyway, we're gonna hook to that low boy right there to move this hay, this silage hay, to the wrapper, and I'll get that done here in a little bit. And I've got to go get the wrapper, you know. And I don't know about you guys. I don't know whether you're having trouble getting off-road diesel or not, but we are. I don't know what the issue is exactly. I've been told everything under the sun. I know the pipeline was hacked, and about a week after that they finally sent me a load of fuel. I think it was 50-some cents a gallon, maybe more, I don't remember, because all it did was tick me off, so I didn't look at it. I just wrote a check for it and sent it on rather than getting me upset. I guess that shows my age. I don't care anything about being upset anymore. But more non-GMO corn. Everything on my home farm here is non-GMO. And I certainly won't chop it all. But I had the seed. I had some guys that ordered some seed, didn't take it all. And I ordered too much for myself. So I planted it. And matter of fact, I didn't plant it all. I think we have a handful of bags left. And I'll plant that off next year to chop, you know. Corn's not too bad. You can see on the edge here where it gets plenty of sun, you can see that this corn is drying on down better than what's out in the middle of the field. And this corn on the edge here, this particular field is notorious right along its driveway for being hard. So I'm surprised it did anything there, really. That was just something I was going to chop off, you know, 12, 24 rows, whatever I needed to. So we could just get it out of the way, but it looks like it's going to be good enough to shell. I think that whole field there will be shelled. I've got way more varieties that I normally chop in the ground than I'll need for silage. So we'll do that. We'll just shell that off, which will be good. There's a backhoe. I just used that to move the backboard for the bagger, and of course the sprayer over here. Just finished spraying some stuff a little bit ago, and Premier 2300 rake serviced, ready to go. Got that hooked to the 4030. Thankfully, my son took the initiative to pull this 4030 apart. I had a leak. Put the bushings and the seals in with the 3-point arms, and the draft control works. And then I had a leak in the remote valves. You'll notice these remote valves bolt to this plate, and then this plate bolts to this housing. And between the housing and this plate here, the plate's what, inch thick. There are some multiple O-rings, and he replaced those, and we got that where we think it's going to be pretty good. These older Deere tractors have got enough pump pressure, and now the seals are getting older and all that. You know, they're notorious for leaking, but we're kind of learning what to do. But 2300 is ready to go to get this forage sorghum Sudan grass cross. It's BMR cross. Get that baled up for silage hay. Dad's track loader still sitting here, waiting on the guys to finish putting the grain bin up. There's parts of the bin there, and we've got some feeder panels there. When we get a chance, we're going to move the concrete J-bunks to this farm, seeing as how I finally got it purchased, and we will be able to feed cattle here over the winter. But 1432 disc spine, serviced it yesterday, ready to go. Lord's willing, we can cut that sorghum Sudan grass cross and that millet with that. Hooked to the 4850. I've got the duals off of it. Really haven't used this tractor but a little bit since it came back from transmission rebuild. Completely rebuilt the transmission in it. Several hard components were cracked. Had to replace several pieces in it. I know one piece was over $3,000. And then went ahead and got the shop to go ahead and rebuild these hubs. They were leaking, and I was fearful something was going on in there. So we got that rebuilt. That's ready to go. I'm kind of anxious to run that. That's probably my favorite tractor. You know, good air, rides good, pulls good. A very universal tractor, even though it's kind of big for, you know, most of the people around here would tell you it's pretty big, but in the grand scheme of things, really it's not. But concrete pad. Still waiting on them to put the grain bin up. They've been doing some. They've got it all scoped out there, but we've got things scattered everywhere waiting on this bin to get put up. So I don't know how that's going to work, but we're going to have to get things going here. I've got to have this trailer to haul this hay, so I guess I'm going to unload those bin parts here in a little bit. But you can see how long it's been since we first graded the site here. I mean, we've got some grass and some weeds and things coming up. So kind of anxious to get that going. On a word of caution, one of my guys ended up hanging. You can notice we've got a wheel missing here on the rake. One of my guys made a mislick and hung that thing, bent the hoop and destroyed a wheel. I mean, it's egg shaped now, you know. Oh, it's worse than that. It's hexagon, octagon, something. Anyway, we got to get that fixed and get this raking all back in the shed. Got a bunch of equipment out. We were prepping here the last few days, trying to get ready. This week, the forecast promises good weather all week, so we're going to try to get the sorghum baled and wrapped, the millet baled and wrapped, and get into cutting corn silage. And I'm hoping if I can get all my guys together and things will work right, you know, we can chop the corn in 3 or 4 days. If you'll remember the International Road Tractor that we normally pull this dump trailer with, that is at a real good friend of mine. He's a heavy equipment, mainly a truck mechanic, and he's working on that. All new brakes, all new drums, new dog bones, you know. And I don't know whether anybody's having trouble with parts, but that truck is not back here because the slack adjusters, I didn't like them, so I asked him to replace them. He ordered them. He received one. Ups has lost the other one, and it's just like you were asking for something for, you know, to replace a piece on the ark that Noah had, you know. It's ridiculous. So and I can't even get a belt that's proper for my lawnmower. Right now my lawn needs cutting and I can't seem to get that done. Can't get the right one, you know. Crazy. But anyway, the corn looks good because I had given up on this corn, and this corn is not very much around. I think the biggest ear I've seen is 16 around. There are some 14s out there. Not a lot, thank heavens. But I think we're going to see, we got water when we were doing grain fill. I think we're going to see some heavy test weight, even though we don't have the kernels that we need to have. So, and the market just had 2 terrible days this past Friday and Thursday, back to back. Thank heavens, the day after the last crop report, which I think was the 16th of August, I booked a bunch of corn. And praise the Lord, that was the right decision. Anyway, you know, if we don't have a lot of bushels, we got to get some money for it. So that's what's going on the farm, the equipment update, and the crop report, I guess you'd say, from Central Virginia. Anyway, better than it was back in the summer. We'll talk with you next time.